You know, for most of human history, we've gone after the easy-to-get energy. These big pockets of oil and gas that we could just tap into. But over the last couple of decades, something huge, a massive shift, has been happening right under our feet. We figured out how to unlock incredible energy reserves from a source we once thought was totally impossible to get to.
I mean, just think about that for a second. What if the answer to our energy needs wasn't in some liquid pool, but was actually locked away inside solid stone? For the longest time, that wasn't just some hypothetical question, it was a geological reality.
And then, just like that, everything changed. A couple of brilliant breakthroughs in engineering and geology completely cracked the code. So now, here in 2026, that tech revolution hasn't just given us a new way to get fuel, it has literally redrawn the entire global map of energy, of wealth, and of power. All right, let's get into how this all happened.
So it all starts with this fundamental pivot, this move from what we call conventional energy to, well, unconventional sources. Think of it like this. For years, we were just picking the low-hanging fruit. Now we figured out how to harvest the entire tree.
Okay, so this slide really breaks down the challenge. On the left, you've got conventional gas. It's kind of like a wet sponge. The gas is in porous, holy rock, and it flows out pretty easily. But shale gas, on the right, that's totally different. The gas is trapped inside the dense rock itself. All the energy is there, but it is completely, totally locked away.
So to be super clear, when we say shale gas, we're just talking about natural gas. It's mainly methane, the same stuff many of us use to heat our homes and cook our food. The only thing that makes it different is where it is. It's basically imprisoned deep underground in this dense, layered rock. So the billion-dollar question was, how on earth do you get it out?
And that, right there, brings us to the science. Because this isn't about brute force. It's about an incredibly sophisticated, almost surgical process that happens miles below the surface of the Earth.
It's really this amazing two-step dance. First, you drill straight down, and I mean way down, sometimes a mile or two. Then the drill bit does this incredible thing. It makes a 90-degree turn and starts drilling horizontally for up to another 3 miles. This exposes a huge section of the well to that gas-rich rock. Then comes part 2, hydraulic fracturing. A high-pressure fluid is pumped down, which creates this network of millions of tiny little cracks, and that finally is what frees the gas and lets it flow up to the surface.
Now, you've probably heard the term fracking fluid thrown around. And it can sound a little mysterious, right? But let's just break down what's actually in it. As you can see, it's not some crazy chemical cocktail. It's almost all water and sand. Seriously, the sand is what we call a proppant, and its job is just to prop open those tiny little cracks in the rock. And that tiny little 0.5% of additives, those are just there to help reduce friction and keep things running smoothly, miles underground.
And the technology just keeps getting better. By 2026, we're seeing things like super pads. These are single platforms that can drill dozens of wells from one spot, which massively reduces the footprint on the land above. And they're using AI to steer the drill bit with incredible accuracy, hitting the most gas-rich layers of rock with a precision that was unthinkable just a few years ago.
So, how did a piece of technology completely change the world? Well, it all started with what we call the American blueprint. The US was really the first country to figure out how to do this at a massive scale. And in doing so, it created a model that would totally transform its economy and its place in the world.
And the results were just staggering. Before this, the US was actually building terminals to import natural gas. Now, it's the world's #1 producer. It's pumping out over 120 billion cubic feet of natural gas every single day. It is a complete and total reversal of fortune.
Now, this flood of cheap natural gas didn't just power homes. It kicked off a huge industrial boom. See, shale gas has stuff like ethane in it, which are the basic building blocks for plastics and chemicals. This started what people are calling a petrochemical renaissance, a huge comeback for American manufacturing, with over $200 billion pouring into new factories.
And this wasn't just some story about big corporations. The benefits trickled down to everyday people. All that abundant, cheap energy meant lower electricity and heating bills, saving the average American family around $1,000 a year.
And here's something you might not expect. There was a pretty significant environmental upside, too. As the US started switching its power plants from old-school coal to new, cleaner-burning natural gas, its carbon emissions actually went down. As you can see right here, natural gas puts out about half the CO2 of coal when you use it to make electricity.
Of course, when you see that kind of success, a success like the American blueprint, it's impossible for the rest of the world not to take notice.
Pretty soon, other countries started looking at their own geology, asking themselves, hey, can we unlock the rock too? And this has created this fascinating new map of global energy players. You've got China, sitting on the world's largest reserves, trying to develop them for its own energy security. You've got Argentina, using its giant Vaca Muerta field to try and jumpstart its economy. And then, maybe most surprising of all, you have oil giants like Saudi Arabia developing their own shale gas so they can use that at home and save their more valuable oil to sell on the export market.
And look, this isn't just a plan for the future. It is happening right now. Shale gas already makes up 15% of China's entire gas supply. Argentina has flipped from being an energy importer to an exporter for its neighbors. The whole global energy game is being reshaped as we speak. So, all of this brings us to today and to the future. What's next for shale gas? And what's its ultimate role in our energy story? Is this just a temporary fix, or is it something more permanent?
Well, first, let's be really clear about the scale we're talking about. This is a massive $111 billion global industry. This isn't some niche technology. It is deeply woven into the world's economy, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon.
But with that kind of scale comes a ton of responsibility. The industry gets it. To have a long-term future, they have to tackle the environmental concerns head-on. This idea of green fracking isn't just some marketing buzzword anymore. It's become a really central part of how these companies operate.
And we're seeing some real, tangible progress. For instance, the leading companies can now recycle up to 90% of the water they use. They're also using high-tech satellites to spot and fix methane leaks almost instantly. They're tackling their environmental footprint with the same kind of precision they use to drill miles underground.
And this all leads to probably the most important idea for the future of shale, its role as a bridge fuel. The concept is actually pretty simple. The goal, the destination, is a world powered by renewables like wind and solar, but they're not quite ready to handle the load 24/7. So shale gas acts as the bridge, a reliable, lower carbon power source that can get us from our fossil fuel past to our renewable future without us having to turn the lights off along the way.
And that leaves us with the really big question, doesn't it? Is this incredible technology the perfect bridge we need to build a greener world? A transitional phase that will eventually move past? Or, given how much of it there is and how much better we're getting at producing it cleanly, could shale gas be a destination in its own right, a core part of how we power our world for decades to come? The answer to that is going to define the next chapter of our global energy story.